This is Karis Alexander with Deep Truth Media. Escaping the Matrix I don't think has ever been conceived of before. You have to understand that you are more valuable than this system of consciousness. You are immersed in a dream that is being fabricated every step of the way. When you engage the dream and give it value, then it gains its solidity. As you come to know the truth of who you are and what you are in your eternal state of nothingness, the dream dissolves. It no longer has a hold on you the way it used to. This is the power control force's greatest fear, that you will no longer give this system of consciousness value, more than yourself, that is, so that they can perpetrate their lies and deceive you every step of the way into believing that all of this is the real deal, when they know full well that it is a dream. We must stop giving the dream any credence or value. It is insignificant in comparison to the totality of who and what you are. You must remember that it is your eternal state of nothingness that created all of this. Now, for the purposes of this sharing, keep in mind that the Roman cult equals the Vatican. It is the oldest continuous order of Satanists of human history, involved in human sacrifice and cannibalism, whose true objectives have always been the suppression of spiritual enlightenment, promotion of heresy against original Christian and Catholic doctrine, including the ongoing illegal control and suppression of the Catholic Church and human civilization throughout the promotion of war, disease, famine, slavery, corruption, and the spiritual enslavement of as many souls as possible. It is the Roman cult, the Vatican, that is running this world. None other than the Sicilian Mafia. Yes, your wonderful physical world is run by thugs, thieves, crooks, the lowest of the lowest this physical world can conceive of in its state of the lowest consciousness in human form, is run by the most insane people on this planet, who should be what? Institutionalized, because they suffer what? Severe mental illness. Deconstructing consciousness, idol worship equals star worship. George Clooney marries in Venice, which equals the Black Death. Who's going to save you from Ebola? As the title of this sharing, you can read the article in the description. Our physical reality is filled with iconic images representing concepts and ideas through symbolism which most of humanity is unaware. Yet these images are solicited in our minds and embedded in our reality to the point where these images are imprinted in our reality and hardwired into our everyday experiences. At the deepest level, idols express unexplored aspects within human potential. The idol's energy represents untapped aspects in all human beings, and because of this, we can be drawn to certain idols that mirror suppressed potential within each of us. The entertainment industry molds idols, stars that is, into characters who reflect false identities and ideas from which our lives are subliminally shaped, of which our relationships and principles for living are influenced. The media and the entertainment industry strongly influence who we are as individuals and as a society. This influence is so pervasive that these idols, celebrities, or characters purely represent symbols of encoded messages, just like the celestial constellations, as above, so below. We become so obsessed or entrenched with their images and characters to the point where they can drastically devastate us when any one of the characters is yanked from our reality through the process of death. For it is through them that we receive uploads and distractions, taking us away from our thoughts, ideas, and more importantly, our authentic self. The worship of idols is embedded within our culture. It pokes our five senses daily, saying you actually really do worship idols, and in this case, celebrity status, presidents, accredited individuals, kings and queens, prominent or distinguished public figures, you name it. Adultery can also be looked at through the worship of power structures, your job, your paycheck, etc. Whatever you put your attention to starts to shape your mind or action. Therefore, adultery can be looked at as a flight from life itself. Now, the raising up of something temporal to an ultimate status is what is called adultery, and it cuts to the very root of how faith is understood in our modern day life. In other words, to have faith in something that is not ultimate is a form of adultery. When we worship idols, there is some kind of exchange with prominent figures according to their energetic value or level of imprint in each of our reality. What idols do you worship? How big of a star are they in your reality? How deep is the imprint? So George Clooney and his new wife, Alma Almudena, were married in Venice on the weekend after Pluto went direct. Pluto went direct September 23rd. They were married publicly on September 27th, but officially on September 29th, to symbolize marriage of continents for sure. After the U.S. attacked the Middle East, Oxford-educated Miss Almudena, 36, who works as a human rights barrister at Doughty Street Chambers in London. The now Miss Clooney is Julian Assange's lawyer. That was a tip-off for me. Let us not forget, oh, the storyline thickens indeed. Once I knew that she was attached to Julian Assange, I knew that she was now being put in as a part of the script. It turns out that the Black Death devastated the general non-population of Venice in 1348, once again between 1575 and 1577. This is where I made the connection to this Venice marriage and the Black Death. In 3 years, a plague killed some 50,000 people. In 1630, the plague killed a third of Venice's 150,000 citizens. Remember Venice's location of Clooney's wedding, just a massive subliminal connecting Ebola with the Black Death. I found this strange article, came out October 7th, 2014, titled Citizens United and the Black Death. It features a book, Oxford University. Oxford is where Alma graduated from. Oxford University in the summer study program this summer is going to have a program called the Black Death. Not the disease itself, but the class, and the article features the book for the class, A Distant Mirror, Calamitous 14th Century. Anyway, the article states that in the book there's a reference to a papal bull of 1343. Pope Clement VI sanctified the theory of indulgences. Now all the popes down the line were criminal. You can trace them. So the papal bull of 1343 sanctified the theory that for enough money you could essentially buy your way out of any sin or buy license to commit one. Want to have an extramarital affair? Here's what it will cost. Want to cheat and steal in your business? Here's what that one will run you. It was all deemed perfectly legal, constitutional, one might say even. What was the long-term impact of the unlimited indulgence purchasing, aside from a lot of nobles being able to bugger owls at their will? Well, as it turned out, one of the things people really liked to buy for themselves or their children was positions of power, like Senate seats or congressional seats today. Now, it turns out that Walter Veltroni, a good friend of Clooney, who was the mayor of the capital of Rome from 2001 to 2008, requested administration from Venice City Council to preside over a civil wedding between Mr. Clooney and his Anglo-Lebanese fiancée on September 29th. Just another reference to 9/11. 2 + 9 = 11 in the month of September, which is 9/11. The Hollywood star of 53 once compared Mr. Veltroni to Barack Obama. Before the senator from Illinois was elected president, the actor and director said that, like Obama, the leader of Italian center-left appealed to the young. He speaks of hope, a clean environment, which is rare in the Italian politic. I think George's friendship with Veltroni is because of his connections to the Vatican or the Roman cult. Prior to the wholesale revision of history to hide the obvious historical facts, Venice was known as one of the most famous Jewish states for the early Middle Ages, and it was after the capture of Umayyad Caliphate in the 17th century, Venice became the last purely Jewish state in the Mediterranean history before its formation of Israel in 1948. It turns out the Roman cult fled to Venice in order to, reestablish their roots before they moved to Israel in order to maintain their hold as the Roman cult over the world system. It turns out that Clooney's honeymoon at the same spot William and Kate did for their honeymoon. Oh, so the star's idols are now connected to the royal bloodline. It turns out our newly married Angelina Jolie made it a family outing as she went to Buckingham Palace to meet Queen Elizabeth on October 10th. The actress humanitarian 39 had a private audience with Queen, who presented her with a physical symbol of her recently bestowed title of Honorary Dame. The insignia of an Honorary Dame Grand Cross of the most distinguished order of St. Michael and St. George. Yes, it was Prince George that was born on the Cardinal Cross 2 years ago. George Clooney, none other than a subliminal to the new Prince George. Now Angelina gets the Saint George. Lots of George going around, but maybe it's just a reference to the future King George, that is William Kate's baby George. And then I show a picture of the Queen and Angelina, and I said, they certainly have got their heads on, but they do resemble the headless Sphinx below. I put this post on the headless Sphinx is something that I've been watching in the news, this excavation in Greece, and started in September. I've been following the storyline. It turns out that the tomb that's been excavated in Greece is none other than Philip II of Macedonia. He was the king of the Hellenic kingdoms of Macedonia of 1359 until his assassination in 1336. He was the father of Alexander the Great and Philip III. The phrase divide and conquer is attributed to him. King Philip II was a powerful 4th century BC military ruler from the Greek kingdom of Macedonia who gained control of Greece and the Balkan Peninsula through tactful use of warfare, of diplomacy, and marriage alliances. Maybe there's a connection with Cluny. His efforts? He reformed the Macedonian army and proposed the invasion of Persia. Sounds very similar to what's happening with the U.S. invasion of ISIS. Later provided the basis for the achievement of his son and his successor Alexander the Great, who went on to conquer most of the known world. See, we're just reliving the past. The overlord of an empire stretching from Greece and Egypt eastward across Asia to India was Alexander, his son, who died in Babylon, now in central Iraq, in June 323 BC. It turns out that the honeymoon is over. 2 weeks after marrying Hollywood heartthrob George, Amal Clooney flies out to Athens to advise Greece on how to get Britain to return the Elgin marbles. Yes, you are living through scripts and narratives. Amal Almadin or Mrs. Amal Clooney, by George, who knows? Either way, she has decided to play her character in the game of life that the power control force are perpetrating on humanity. Oh, the Elgin she's advising on is the 7th Earl of Elgin, Thomas Bruce, removed from the Pantheon marble sculptures from the Acropolis in Athens, the same Acropolis that they're excavating the famous tomb, the Macedonian king, while serving as a British ambassador to Ottoman Empire from 1799 to 1803. Now, it was George Clooney who left his honeymoon and went to New York to promote his, explained in my last audio, 9 days after his wedding. With the ongoing narrative is a stunning mosaic floor uncovered in Greece mystery tomb that I've been following. It turns out the mosaic is of Hermes, has been found under the massive tomb in Greece that I have been following. Interesting connection with Mrs. Clooney's visit to Greece as the world turns. A stunning mosaic floor uncovered Phalluses in northern Greece shows the Greek god Hermes as charioteer leading a bearded man to the underworld. Hermes wears a pistachio on his head, a cloak, a winged sandals, and holds a caduceus, a winged staff with 2 snakes wrapped around it, all symbolizing what? The serpent energy, Ophiuchus. Simply a subliminal reference to who controls your consciousness, the creator God, Thoth, or the universal architects who created the system of consciousness. Remember, your eternal essence has simply been captured in the sea of consciousness designed to keep you fully immersed in the dream of your life experience, forever engaging the illusion of reality so that you will never remember your true essence in a total state of no thing or nothingness. But that's not happening. You are catching on to the program that's being perpetrated on you. Now you know on a very deep level that you are far greater, far grander than the program reality that consumes so many lives. This system of consciousness is insignificant to who and what you are. You are remembering the greatness that is you as you break free of the dream into the reality of your own choosing and making. Thank you so much for tuning in.